Aloha kako, mahalo nui for coming and tuning in today. We have a very special guest. And when I say very special, she is very special to me. Today, Hema and I have my amazing, brilliant, kind, loving, stunning partner, Kari Moana. And, you know, again, Kari Moana is someone that is all the things. You know, she's been taught from young, her first language being her own, and being at the feet of her kupuna and understanding the kuleana that she had and taking that by everything and living up to every single thing that anybody ever thought that she could be. And, you know, which includes being a Maori linguist, being a lawyer, having her master's in Maori and Indigenous leadership, getting her PhD right now, being a part of starting a founding school that was completely based off of her own, you know, kupuna and their ways and their language and understanding how education is. You know, the list goes on and on for this amazing person that I have the honor to call my partner. And so, Kari Moana, welcome. Welcome here. I love you, my love, and thank you for being brave with me to be able to do this little bit of a talk story with Hema, and I'm so grateful for you. Welcome.
Wow.
Yeah. To start it off, we're actually, after this, you know, our introduction, I'm going to turn the time over to wherever he is on the screen, Hema, to kind of, you know, start our conversation, and then we just, you know, go with the flow. But again, mahalo for taking the time.
Mahalo T. So, Kari, you know, within the past 2 months almost, we've been in this pandemic, a worldwide pandemic, and you being a Kumu, a teacher, and having to actually change your daily routine and having to teach your own kids and the kids that you would normally teach in a classroom, having to teach them online over Zoom or WhatsApp, whatever forms of communication you folks have been using for Kula. How has it been for both you and your kids and your haumama within this time and within this transitions?
Kia ora mai tātou. Thank you both for having me. I'm excited to share this space with you. It's been an interesting time, and my perspective is my own perspective. I know people are experiencing this in a multitude of different ways. And I hear a lot of people say, you know, we're all in this together, we're all on the same boat, which isn't always true for our people. We're definitely all in the same storm, but we're not on the same boat. Some boats are built a little more pa'a than others. So people's experiences of this time are different. And because my world is kind of a very Māori, a Māori heavy world, it just is the work I'm doing and the communities I'm in and the people I'm interacting with, I see the disparities and I see the struggles that our people are facing. And things like COVID exemplify things that are already strained, yeah, in our communities. But the beauty that I've seen, and that's why I said my perspective is different, because for me, this time has been a really amazing opportunity to reset, to reevaluate, and to ground myself again in things that life has distracted me from. So I love language, and Tana called me a linguist. You're very kind. I'm blessed to have been raised in Kohanga Reo, but I'm still working to the pinnacle of being a linguist, but I try. But I love our language. I'm a language geek. I love it. I love the imagery. I love the metaphor. And I love how our people find words to describe a situation to make it relatable and understandable. So a lot of the words in New Zealand that's been happening is lockdown is the word that they've been using. So we've just come out of 7 weeks of what mainstream's calling lockdown. But our people haven't called it lockdown. The word that we've been using is rahui. And rahui is a beautiful word. It's a concept that our people use when limitations or restrictions are placed on a practice, on an area, on people, on a community, to protect that person, that people, that community, that resource. So for example, if there was a contamination in a seafood resource, or if it was unsafe to swim in a particular area because of a drowning, or if the stock was depleted on a certain food resource, a rahui would be placed over that resource, which means that a limitation or a restriction is placed on that for the protection of that resource. So we've been using rahui instead of lockdown, and I love the imagery. So we haven't been looking at it as punitive, as our rights being taken away. We've actually looked at it as what is the most important thing. He aha te mea nui o te ao, he tangata, he tangata, he tangata. So we have a saying, what is the most important thing in the world? It is people, it is people, it is people. And rahui for us is an expression of that whakatauki, because if the economy is the most important thing in the world, we are in trouble. It's not, it's the people. So a rahui being placed on people isn't a restriction, it's actually an acknowledgement of how important life is. And restrictions and limitations being placed on us is to protect us, to protect our communities, to protect our kupuna, our tamariki. So I love that imagery. And for me personally in my life, you might see my weekʻs set up in the background. In a past life, I've trained as a teacher, so I was teaching in a kura that we started, have taught my own daughter for a time, am now actually working at the university, so I'm lecturing teacher trainees. So I'm lecturing and teaching young people or people that are training to be teachers. So I'm teaching Māori medium education. So I'm not in the classroom, and that's what I said, this has been a beautiful time for me to reset. I've had my babies for 7 weeks. We have remembered what mātauranga knowledge means. We've remembered what education can be. And we've remembered what it is that we value in the education of our 2 babies. And we've been able to reset that, re-establish those connections, that bond, and return to some of the values that I haven't forgotten, but I've been so busy doing life that I just needed to remember. So it's been a really beautiful time for me to reset and to reground myself and my babies and our babies during this time. So I'm grateful. I'm acknowledging that not everybody is as privileged as me to still be able to work and have my babies, to still have an income and not be worried about finances, because for a lot of our people, especially Māori people, that's not their reality. So I recognize my privilege and I'm incredibly blessed and thankful for the opportunity I've had to spend 7 weeks effectively homeschooling my babies.
Beautiful. Mahalo, Kari. No, I'm so glad that you brought up that word, rahui. So in ʻōlelo Hawaii, we actually have the word lahui. And I feel that, you know, as we go about creating or increasing the amount of linguists that we have for Hawaii, I would then have to ask people to research the word. What does it mean? What is its ancient meaning? What is the meaning that we use for it today? So lahui, as we know it today, means a people's, right? But like Aotearoa, it's this form of putting this kapu on a place, on a thing. So when you actually research the word and you look it up, that's exactly what it means. Lahui. So are we using it wrong today, or are we not using it the same way as they would have 140 years ago, right? Because with the times we do evolve, language does evolve. If it doesn't, then it's a dying language. So Yeah, I love the connections. So Tiana and I, we have been doing these talk story sessions, Nana Ike Kumu sessions, and this is Nana Ike Kumu Volume 4. And you brought up the Whakatauki. So would you be able to let the people know or give us one that kind of resonates with you in this moment, in this time?
Yeah, mahalo. I didn't know that about the kupu lahui, so my language geek is like, wow. I love those connections. So Whakatauki, our version of ʻōlelo no iao, is my thing. Like, I love Whakatauki. And the way that you talk about language evolving, it does, to meet the society in which the speakers are living. And one thing that I find not sad, but I feel a little bit kaumaha about it. Not only has our language evolved, but the way that we think has changed. The way that we speak has changed. And I did a reo Māori, I was a part of a reo Māori hui. Te Panekiretanga, and we had some amazing kaioko, Timothy Karetu, Wharehuia Milroy, Pau Te Mara. And at one of our hui, I remember one of our papa had said, I think it was Te Rangiho who originally said this quote, but it stuck with me. And probably has really influenced me on my journey through moving from law to education. And the quote that they shared with us is that, it's beautiful to see more tamariki learning Māori. So they said we have more and more people speaking Māori, but they have less and less things Māori to speak about. And I sat with that for a really long time, trying to dissect the meaning, because these papa are of that generation where they still speak in metaphor. And that's what I'm talking about the way we speak has changed. So if you look at old manuscripts, you look at old writings, you look at old compositions, my God, our people were poets. They were linguists. The way they spoke wasn't from what they viewed with their eyes. It was completely holistic, and it was metaphorical, and it wasn't even of this time and space. And it takes so much unpacking, but my God, there's so much knowledge within only a few short kupu. So I sat with that for a really long time, and I was thinking about the changes in our people and language. My family is a textbook family for the cycle of language loss and language reclamation. So Joshua Fishman and all of these really smart people have told us that it takes 1 generation to lose a language and 3 for that language to return. My family is textbook. So my great-grandmother, matatau te reo, fluent speaker. My taua, my grandmother, at a very young age was taken from the home and placed in a sanatorium because she had tuberculosis. She had rheumatic fever. For a number of reasons was removed from the home and raised in a Pākehā place, void from her community and her family, and returned as a young woman back to her mother. So the chain broke there. And for whatever reason, our great-grandmother chose not to pass on that language to her children, who then were unable to pass it on to my mother, her generation. Then they cue me, my generation, and when I was born in the early 80s, my mother and my taua were part of a ropu who started up the first kohanga reo in my community. And I was one of the first babies that went through. So they learned alongside me. My mum learned as I was learning. And I say, yes, I was exposed to te reo Māori from a baby, but they don't class a first language speaker as somebody that learns from a baby. It's actually categorized as someone who learns as a baby, but lives in a Māori speaking household. So that's not till my babies who really are te reo Māori as their first language. They grew up in a household where their mother and their father at the time were speakers of te reo Māori, and te reo Māori has been their first language. So I'm getting to the Whakatauki Hema. I'm circling back around. So I've been doing a lot of thinking around, we can return the language to the lips of our babies, but how do we alter the way that they think? How do we alter the worldview that they have and the lens through which they look at the world? Because we can give them language, but unless we're giving them things that are Māori to talk about and to engage in things that are in a way that is Māori, we're paying lip service to a language when we're not giving the heart of everything that that language represents. So they say, ko te reo te hā, te Māori o te Māoritanga, that language is the very life breath of being Māori. And for me, language is my thing. I love it. But I was so captivated by that kōrero from those papa that I thought about our education system, and I thought, we can teach our kids Māori in our schools, but what actually are we teaching them? What is the content that we're teaching them? Are we teaching them a mainstream curriculum in the Māori language, or are we actually critically thinking about the content, the pedagogy, the way we're teaching, why we're teaching it, what's considered knowledge? Are we critically looking at those things? And I was a little disillusioned, and as you do, when there's nothing there that really is to your taste, you go and cook your own meal. So we decided to start up our own kura, and the Whakatauki that I'm circling back to is one that we started on when we decided that education is the way to change the world. And we need to do it through establishing a place of learning that is not a school. And I say that because education is something that's been really traumatic for Māori in the past, and continues to be something that is done to us and not with us in a lot of areas. And it continues to be an area where our aren't achieving in mainstream education. So we stumbled, or we found a Whakatauki that really spoke to us. And the Whakatauki was he tamaiti ākona ki te kāinga tū ki te marae tauana. And what that means is the child who is taught well at home will stand on the marae confidently. And we sat on that for a long time, and we thought, okay, so this Whakatauki is talking about education isn't something that happens from 9 till 3 in a building separate from your family. Education actually happens in the home. It starts in the home, it ends in the home. And what that Whakatauki is telling us is that the confidence and the ability of the child to be able to fulfill their kuleana starts with what they're taught at home. So then we looked at our community, and 96% of our kids were in mainstream education. The number of Māori speaking households was really low. So we were thinking, man, we've lost that ability to have that really rich education in the home through no fault of our own. But if we're trying to say that real learning happens in the home, and our homes don't have the capacity, not that they don't have the desire, some do not have the capacity, what can we do for those babies? So we took that Whakatauki and we stepped it up, and we said, okay, if that Whakatauki is telling us the child that is taught well at home will stand on their marae confidently, if the home isn't a place where there are people that can provide the child with that learning, where can we provide that space? And communities have popped up all over the world. Indigenous people have created their own communities where we can continue to share and learn, and to pull those resources of those people that still have managed to maintain that knowledge. So we decided that actually we need to create a home that's bigger than just individual houses. So we needed to create a village. So we adapted the Whakatauki to tamaiti ākona ki te pā tū ki te ao tauana. And what that means is the child that's taught well in the village, in the pā, will stand confidently in the world. So that was us trying to pull our tamariki out of these silos, which are houses, which are mum, dad, 2.5 kids, and create or recreate the way that our people thrived, which was through a village. And through a village, you then have access to the pukenga, or the skills of everybody within that community. And the child benefits from the knowledge and the brilliance of everybody in that community. So we created our own school. Pa, we're not calling it a school. So it's multi-level, early childhood, primary, secondary, tertiary. The family are involved, all of those things. And the theory behind it is that if learning needs to happen in the home, and for a lot of our families, we've lost the inability to be able to provide that type of learning that we want to provide for our children, what can we do as a community? We can create our own villages. We can reframe what education is to be something that we knew, K-N-E-W. We knew how to educate our babies, and we can reclaim that space. We can look at an education system that's historically failed us, and we can take control or rangatiratanga over that space and create our own spaces and define them on our own terms. So we don't call our pa a school, we call it a pa, a village. And our whakatauki, or our kind of motto, I guess you would say for our school, is tū ki te ao, which is stand confidently in the world, but it's based on that whakatauki, which is based on the original whakatauki. So it's talking about if the child is raised and taught well within that village environment, they will stand confidently in the world, no matter where they choose to go. And that's not limiting them to te ao Māori. They're not just going to be able to achieve success in a Māori world, but they will be able to achieve success globally, to be amazing Indigenous global citizens that are going to change the world. We want them to be navigators, leaders. We want them to be whatever it is that they're passionate about, and to be the best version of that. So that's the whakatauki, and I talked all my way around it, Hema, but I think I returned back to the whakatauki. It's one that's changed my life, because hearing those kōrero from those papa many, many years ago, and then at the time I was in law, almost was the catalyst for me to move out of law and to go into education, for me to be involved in this group that's established their own pa, and for my, I guess, pathway now with my doctoral studies all around kaupapa Māori education. So that's my whakatauki.
Mahalo nui, Kari, for that beautiful journey you just took us on. Like, I was like loving like the depth. It just could, it just keeps getting deeper and deeper. And I think that is one of the things that I admire the most about you, and actually one of the things that I loved when I got to visit Te Pa and see you in action, and see the love that you had for those beautiful, keiki, and the love that they had for you. And you're such a good like, I don't know how to explain that, feeler. You can feel when there's a change in energy, and you're like, hey, maybe it's time, you gotta like, let's recenter. And you're just really, it was just very warm, very loving. Your classroom did not look like a classroom. There wasn't chairs. It was gather on this, and there's all these little, sections, and you have the, kaulana mahina on your wall, and then your whole, this side is all a forest. And I really appreciated, that outside inside effect, and being able to witness Te Pa and what you folks were able to build, what you are building, what you continue to dream to build, and to see like that, all along the walls, our keiki are, having their Māori, clothes on, things that are traditional. They put their mokos on their face, and they're not ashamed of it, and it's beautiful. And it's like you're walking through a hallway of Kupuna. Like, I loved it. I know Hema is also a cacao, a practitioner, and has been getting a lot into that. And actually, while we were in Nāulu one day, he was watching a video, and then it was your friend that did your moko kawe. And I just wanted to see, like, in that journey, because both of you, I personally don't have a cacao yet. I hope to get one soon. But I know both of you folks have done it in the most traditional way as possible for you. So if you could just just quickly, I know you have a meeting and we've got to, you know, go and do our thing, but just quickly talk a little bit about your moko kauai. For many people that are watching, this might be their first experience with it. It's possible. And, you know, and that also being a part of who you are and continuing into what you do proudly. Yeah.
Oh, mahalo for the question. Yeah, I guess like all things with me, it's a journey. And this moko kauai, so kauai is this area of your face, the chin area. So moko kauai is a traditional ta'amoko for females traditionally, and signifies and represents so many things. Your whakapapa, your whānau, your kuleana, so many things, your identity, and the ability to wear that identity proudly on your kino is such a privilege and such a responsibility. And those things go really hand in hand for me. So for me, this isn't my journey, this is my family's journey. And my decision to receive my moko kauai from my amazing friend Christine Harvey was the artist, female, one of the first female tamoko artists in Aotearoa. Has been doing it for over 25 years and is incredible. It was a journey that I didn't travel alone, and it was a decision I didn't make alone. So very much was in consultation with my family, with my taua in particular, my grandmother. And for our family, it was an acknowledgement of the journey of our family, of loss, of language, and of a reclamation of that language, and of that identity, and of that mana. And it was my taua actually, because I had always knew this was always there, it just wasn't on the outside. And I always have known that it was going to happen. I just thought I would have grey hairs and some moko puna by the time it happened. And I lost my taua last year. And 2 months before she passed, we were talking, and we had a family reunion coming up, and she said, I think that you should get the moko kauai at the family reunion. And I talked to her about that. And that was kind of, oh, that's in a couple of months' time. That's really soon. And then my taua just said to me, you're ready. And that was all I needed, because this wasn't about me. This was my family. This was my mother. This was my grandmother. This was my great-grandmother, and all of those amazing, beautiful, strong wahine whom I'm descended from. He puawai o rātou mā, I am but a representation of all of those that have gone before me. So for me, when my taua said the time is right, the time was right. And she sat right beside me when I got my moko kauai and held my hand. And we shed so many tears for my transformation, but also released a lot of kaumaha generations past. Because for us, it was acknowledgement that actually, ko hoki mai te reo ki tēnei whānau, our language has returned to this family, and we're proud. We are Māori, and we are so proud to be Māori. And for me, that was a beautiful journey, and I lost my taua a couple of months after I received my kauai. So for me, she knew. And for me, this is her every single day. I get to see her on my kino and feel her on my kino. And there's no greater feeling of love than this for my family, for my language, for my people. And another beautiful thing for me is that I want to show my children that being Māori is something to be proud of. That it's no longer something that we have to feel shame, or that we have to feel less than, or that we have to feel lacking, or that we have to feel that for no matter reason, if we cannot speak the language, if we don't know how to hunt, if we don't know how to fish, if we don't know how to weave, if we don't have all of those knowledge, that knowledge that was lost through no fault of our own, we are enough. through your whakapapa, because you have the blood of your kupuna in your veins, you are enough. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. You don't have to be worthy to receive a kauai. It's your right because it's in your blood. And I wanted to show my babies that this is their birthright. They don't have to prove that they're enough. They don't have to meet some criteria of a checklist to feel worthy. They are worthy from the mere fact that they were born. And normalizing it with my babies and with the community, with my kids at kura, has been also really important for me. So we've had a real resurgence of tāmoko in Aotearoa, particularly a kanohi. So kauai and full face for tāne. And it's a beautiful thing. So there was a kōrero going around moko tia te ao, tattoo the world. And it was about reclaiming our taonga as ours, and being really proud of that, and breaking down the trauma that's taught us that we have to somehow be worthy to receive this. You are worthy. You are worthy by the mere fact that you descend from a whole line of people that survived way worse pandemics than this. Colonization is the worst pandemic we've ever endured, and we're still in it. We're still in that, and we've endured, we've survived. So reclamation of tāmoko for us has been a beautiful and empowering process. And for my family in particular, it's been really beautiful. And at Te Pā, I love that there's, at one point there was 4 of us on staff that all really proudly wore our moko kauai. It's normal for our babies. It's not strange. And I love that they're growing up in a world now where this is normal, because when I was growing up, it wasn't normal. The only people you really saw with this were 80-year-old kupuna, you know. We didn't see young people wearing these. So the resurgence is a beautiful reclamation, I think, of us and our identity, and a statement that actually we're going to reclaim our identity and what it means to be us, and we're going to be really proud of that. So yeah, koira.
That was beautiful.
Kia ora.
So, mahalo nui, Kari, for coming here today. Mahalo no kau ike kupuna no kau papa no kau hiki ana mai me ia mana o ka moana nui a kea, ka moana kaiuli a kāne a kanaloa a iwa kea a papalani. A ahe ʻōlelo kai hiki ke hiki aku I ka iu, ka ikena, ka noʻea o nā kupuna. So there is nothing that can reach those grasp of our kupuna except us. Now, because we are them, we're just a reincarnation, a living embodiment of what they've left behind. And, you know, one thing that has, I guess, grown on me is my tattoo. And, you know, even before getting it, I was like, I don't need it. You know, I know who I am. I walk around every day with that knowledge of whom has passed, whom I represent, you know, especially like on the marae or in our communities. So, you know, when getting it, it's like, okay, now I am this representation of this design, okay, or my kupuna are on me rather than in me. So going about my everyday life, now I have to hold myself to a higher standard, because people are going to be like, okay, so this guy has this, what is he about, what does he do, you know. So and I think that if, or within the next couple years, you know, there's going to be a resurgence of everybody wanting to get one. And it's good and it is bad, because you'll have your bad bananas. So I think it's controlling to a little bit, controlling who and can. And yeah, but mahalo nui, Kari, for coming, and I'm so glad we got to talk to you. And hopefully we can do it again, you know, sooner than later. We can catch you at a time where you don't have a halavai. But T, you have anything else you want to say?
No, just, you know, I really appreciate you, Kari Moana, for taking the time again, like Hema said. And of course, always appreciate you, Hema, and the light that you are. And I just, you know, grateful for the most beautiful thing that I cherish in life, which is, you know, the people and the relationships. And so, you know, just kind of ending with that kind of thought. Thank you so much. You know, I'm excited to later on our kids come back home, and so we're gonna get to see them after a couple days of not. And this is always an exciting day for me because, you know, now we get to see the little things grow in our keiki. So love you, Kari Moana, love you, Hema. Mahalo nui for this today, and you know, we'll see you again soon, Kari. Just keep thinking about those whakatauki. Mahalo nui. Ahui ho.
Hui hou.
Aotearoa.